There is no glory without scars. Blue and gold, we fight hard. And they know who
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Dose Leprechauns. I am Leprechaun Jason.
Leprechaun Nate.
And we have a big show lined up for you again this morning. We are now just 28 days away from Notre Dame football. Today on the countdown, we had Kyle McCartney and Austin Collinsworth. Kyle McCartney, for those of you that may remember, was a standout safety for the Irish, got a fifth year of eligibility, and really had a great fifth year senior season. Battled cancer recently and beat that. True fighting Irish spirit. Came back to be a assistant coach for the Irish, and now he's doing his own private industry thing, but he's still a big part of the Notre Dame community. And then Austin Collinsworth, of course, the son of Chris Collinsworth here on NBC Sunday Night Football, and just an all-around great athlete. And it looks like our phone call is coming in now, so I'm going to ring him in real quick here. Good morning, Rick.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm doing great. How's it going?
Great. Thank you so much for calling in. Ladies and gentlemen, this morning we are honored to be joined by one of the greatest quarterbacks to ever come out of Notre Dame. We are joined by Rick Mirer. Thanks again for coming on this morning, Rick.
Yeah, no problem. Good to talk to you.
Here's some volume. So we're going to just ask you a few questions and let you get on your way. I know you're probably really busy, so again, we appreciate you taking out the time. So I was just kind of going back and looking through some of your Notre Dame accolades and everything, and just your career story. And I didn't know that you grew up as a big Michigan fan. So I heard a story about you were at a football camp that Bo Schembechler was running, and you said to him something to the effect of "Stick around and I'll see you soon." How difficult of a choice was it for you to choose Notre Dame over Michigan?
It was tough. I mean, I was a diehard Michigan fan as a kid. My dad was from the area. Went to Ann Arbor quite a bit growing up. And, when I had my chance to choose, it was hard to say no to Bo, but it was a good option, and the irony of it now is that my middle son is talking to Michigan about lacrosse. So
nice.
I'm back there. Yeah, I go back on another visit as the dad, and it's just, it's kind of come full circle. But I always had a lot of respect for the Michigan guys and enjoy the games we had against them.
Nice. Okay. So your son's a lacrosse player. Does he play football also, or is he just focusing on lacrosse?
I have three boys, and the older two both play lacrosse and football, and my younger guy's more baseball at this point. But so the oldest is going to go play at Notre Dame next year. He's a senior, high school senior now, and then my middle guy's kind of going to, figure out what's best for him. So who knows? But at the very least, we'll be back in South Bend more than we have for a long time, just because of the oldest being there. Nice.
Well, we'll look forward to seeing that for sure.
Yeah.
What was it like being on the cover of Sports Illustrated?
That's a good question. It's you think it's just sort of like something that happens and then passes, but honest to God, I still get those in the mail. People that want them signed, and it's kind of a permanent thing. It's a huge publication, obviously, but it's just it's an honor to be on that. And Rocket told me when it happened, he goes, "Man, you'll sign every one of those," and I didn't. This was only a year after maybe he'd been on it, but he was right. It seems like they all come back to you. And I don't know, I still kind of smile when those things show up in the mail. It's such a great memory.
Yeah, that's all. Well, I definitely had my copy, and I got one signed too, so mine's hanging up in my man cave, so thank you for signing that.
Sure.
Do you pay much attention to some of the records that you held or still hold at Notre Dame when you see guys like Deshaun Kaiser and Malik Zaire, whoever ends up being the starting quarterback, and start to approach some of those records? Do you pay much attention to that, or is it just you root for them to break it, or is it kind of one of those shot in the gut type thing when they do overtake some of those records that you set while you're at Indy?
They're gone. They're meant to be broken. Brady Quinn came along and Ron Powlus first, actually, and then Brady and Jimmy Clausen. A lot of guys, did a lot of great things, and to me it was cool at the time when you're kind kind of looking at the list of names and you're on there somewhere, it's pretty neat. But over time, systems change and styles change and records get shattered. So I have no problem with those things going away. I think you're basically judged by, what happened in your era.
Sure.
And it's hard to compare, 20, 30-year, ranges, but somehow we always do it. And, there's some talented and unbelievable names on that list somewhere along statistics, not always passing and rushing, but other things too. And I'm just happy to be a part of it.
Nice, yeah. So when you were going through the whole draft process, going into the NFL and everything, was Coach Holt somebody that gave you a lot of good advice, or was he there with you on draft day? What was your draft day experience like? Because you were obviously projected to be a high, draft pick and maybe a first day guy and stuff like that. So who was with you during draft day? How did you experience that? How did you celebrate that? And did Coach Holtz and some of the Notre Dame coaching staff play a big role in how you handled that situation?
It was mostly family and friends. Coach Holtz was available for whatever was necessary, I would say. I mean, he always made himself available, but I didn't really need anything. The draft thing took care of itself. Had I come out as a junior, it would have been a little different. And a lot of guys go through that where they need some advice and some guidance kind of to figure out where they would fall into the projections. But I was basically surrounded by my family and the closest friends, and we knew it was going to be first or second. So didn't know which, but knew that that's as long as we had to actually sit around and wait in all likelihood. So the day is kind of a blur. It was such a whirlwind once it happens and you get the call. Now you're working on flights and plans and, getting there to get on the field and actually get going, talk to the media there. And for me, Seattle was like a long ways away, so it happened quick, thankfully, on draft day. But then you get put to work right away. Sure.
Okay, cool. So I want to ask you kind of a tough question here, and this is obviously a very controversial question. But in your observations and what you've seen so far, if you were in Coach Kelly's shoes or Coach Stanford's shoes right now, who are you going with against Texas on September 4th to lead the Irish to national championship number 12?
I don't know. I'm not close enough to it to have a feel for it. I think they have the luxury of having two guys that are capable. My gut tells me that some way they'll both get to play some. I don't know how that's going to shake down, but it's hard to deny Deshaun after what happened last year, filling in and just kind of handling it. It feels like he's earned the right to keep playing, but then you got a guy who suffers a kind of a fluke injury, and you hate to lose your spot because of that. Obviously, everybody's paying attention and can't wait to see what happens, but I hope there's a way they can both get some of the love. I mean, it takes two guys, and maybe not every game, but over the course of a season, somehow you're going to need them both, and it'd be nice to see them both get a chance to kind of get a little something for all the effort they put in.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I don't think Malik lost his job. He obviously just got hurt, but Kaiser is just a phenom, so it's a good problem to have, I guess. Hopefully Kelly...
Yeah, I think so. I just hope they can kind of get through it and get along, and it's it's a big thing, but
sure.
There's more time. They're not out of eligibility yet,
right?
So hopefully they can make it work.
Are you still pretty connected to the program or the school? Do you go back often and contribute and things like that?
I don't go back that much because of the distance and just how busy my life is, but I'll be back more in the future, having a son there. And, Brian Kelly's been a great guy, to all the former players. And it's not like I don't feel like I have an opportunity. It's just a matter of timing. And now with having a bunch of guys on the staff, it's fun to be involved from a distance. Honestly, it's been interesting to kind of learn lacrosse and kind of feel connected that way too. And I'll be watching like everybody on Saturdays, and I don't miss a second of the games. I don't see them firsthand live, in the stadiums very often, but I did go back a couple weeks ago and see some family and stuff, and I just cannot believe the way that stadium looks now. It's unreal what's going on there.
It's pretty impressive, the Crossroads project. So last question, just want to learn a little bit more about what you're up to nowadays. I know you have the winery that you guys do, and then I noticed that a lot of the proceeds of the winery go towards the Mirer Family Foundation. Can you give us a little background on what you're up to as far as your winery, and then what exactly the Mirer Foundation family supports?
Yeah, I've been busy with the winery in Napa here now for almost 8 years, and that was an attempt to keep my business brain sort of moving and learning, and that's been fun and productive. But I'm proud that we've been able to support a lot of charities through the wine and the efforts of the business. So we've had a foundation for several, over 20 years now, and we've been able to help some students at Notre Dame along the way. Many other programs, Boys and Girls Club, Make-A-Wish, a lot of things that local schools and programs for kids for health and education, really. And we're going to continue to do that with the help of the NFL and some of their grant money. Guys, former players like myself, can try to make an impact from just doing what we're doing wherever we live. It doesn't have to be in South Bend or have to be where we played in the NFL. So that's been rewarding, and I hope that we can continue to grow it. The wine thing was sort of a passion project that turned into a real business, and that thing is a evolving thing all the time. And who knows? Maybe if we can hit a home run here, we'll be able to help more charities even better than we do now.
Where can people, either purchase your wine and generate some revenue for the foundation, or where can they donate to the foundation? Can you give us a website or Twitter or Facebook or whatever?
Yeah, well, there's all the above. I mean, we have mirerwine.com is really where the wine exists, and there's some links to this foundation stuff. MirerFamilyFoundation.org has some donations. Links and stuff, but Facebook, both exist on Facebook under those names, and it's fun to hear from people who discover, kind of what I'm doing, having been fans maybe, and sort of reading up on guys, and it's always nice to hear some support. And the wine's a small project; it's not everywhere, but through the website, we ship wine all over the country, so. There's a way to get it through the website, and we're happy to make those things happen.
Awesome. Okay, well, we'll definitely plug that as much as we possibly can through our resources, and wish you luck through your winery and then your continuing efforts to help folks out through the foundation.
I appreciate that a lot.
All right, Rick, hey, thank you so much for coming on this morning. This has really been awesome. Obviously, watching you play as a youngster, it's pretty awesome to have you come on, and I really appreciate the time.
Yeah, no problem, and best luck to you guys.
All right, go Irish.
Now meet the legend that is us Notre Dame. We stand together, and that's not gonna change. We're family.
All right, and we are back. I hope you guys enjoyed that interview as much as I did with Rick Mirer. I mean, that guy, Nate, I know you weren't even a thought at that point, but in high school, man, that guy was like my idol. I had his jersey. I still have his jersey in the storage somewhere, and it's all shredded now, and it wouldn't even fit over my arm, but still awesome that I just got to talk to Rick Mirer. Unbelievable quarterback. Unfortunately, his NFL career didn't go as we had all hoped, but he was the second-round draft pick in the NFL, and I mean, just a great guy. He was always a good teammate, and it's just really cool to have him on, so pretty awesome. So anyways, Nate, we're officially in football season, man. How do you feel about having live football tonight?
I feel awesome. I mean, it's preseason football. I hate preseason football, but it's football. So I don't think I've ever been this excited for football, because all the other years I've been like a little young and been like da-da-da.
Yeah, you're still kind of that way, but that's okay.
Okay.
Another cool thing. So tonight we have the Packers versus the Colts in the Hall of Fame game. It's at 5 o'clock on ESPN. I think I heard that Andrew Luck is going to play a couple series and Aaron Rodgers will play a couple series, and then they'll get out and let the second, third stringers come in.
I'll probably play 1 quarter or 2.
Yeah, something like that. I kind of like the preseason sometimes only to see some of these young guys that maybe nobody thought would make the team that can kind of develop and come out of nowhere and come and make the team. You see that a lot with some of these pro teams where a guy that, like the guy last year that was for the Niners that played rugby, had never played American football, and then all of a sudden he makes a team and makes a difference. That's either A, the Niners really sucked, or B, that guy was just a stud. But I think he retired, didn't he, Memo?
I think so.
Yeah. Also, starting this week, so just kind of a football preview this week, starting Tuesday, for those of you that are have HBO and are a fan of the Hard Knocks series, Hard Knocks returns this Tuesday with the St. Louis Rams, L.A. Rams, my bad. The L.A. Rams and kind of their move to L.A. and how that's going to impact the community, and Jared Goff to see if he's going to win the job, and follow Todd Gurley, who I think happens to be one of the best running backs in the NFL after just 1 year.
Yeah, and he says every year his favorite team is his fantasy team, but now, of course, he's the LA Rams.
No, I'm not an LA Rams fan. I don't have a pro team. I want to make that clear. I don't have a pro team because I can't root against.
Gurley.
I can like players. I just don't have to like a team. I like players.
You can't like people from different teams.
That's not true. Unless it's Notre Dame, you have to like Notre Dame. If not, you can like players from other teams in the pros. That's the point of fantasy. Unfortunately, Nick has Todd Gurley in our fantasy league that we do, so I'm not going to be able to draft him. But in the league that Nate and I do, the Dos Leprechauns league, I'm definitely going to try to get him number 1. So that's my strategy. Don't try to steal it.
That's a stupid pick.
Thanks. So that's Tuesday on HBO. And then for those of you that don't know, going back to Notre Dame just inked a deal with Bleacher Report. So for those of you out there that don't know, Bleacher Report is going to do kind of a mini version of last year's Showtime season and they're going to do some inside the locker room stuff, follow the team around to road games, kind of follow them through the home game traditions. I heard they're going to do some player profiles, so they'll follow around some of the players through class and kind of their home life and things like that. So that'll be a weekly feature we're looking forward to that I'm pretty excited about as well. But yeah, so football's back this week. We have a fantasy football draft for what's our league called now?
Knights of the Round Table?
Knights of the Round Table. So we have a live football draft that we do, and I think it's pretty unique. We've been doing it for, I think this is the 11th year. And we instituted something a couple years ago where the last place finisher has to wear a pink tutu to the live draft. And unfortunately, that's your boy here, Leprechaun Jason's going to be wearing a pink tutu.
Because he sucks at fantasy.
I do pretty much suck at fantasy. Never won. I've played like 22 different seasons throughout the 12 years of fantasy, and I don't think I've ever won an actual league. So that sucks. But this is my year. Just like for the last 26 years of being an Irish fan, this is our year. This is my year to win fantasy. All right, so that's enough of a little bit of a preview of this upcoming NFL week. We'll get to more of it later, and we'll be back in just a few minutes with some Notre Dame talk.
Now meet the legend that is us Notre Dame. We stand together and that's not gonna change. We're family.
All right, we're back, Nate. So what do you think about, I know we've been talking a little bit about it on the way over here and in preview meetings and stuff. What do you think about fall camp so far? It's only been, well, technically now it'll be the end of day 2, but just on some of the footage, what did you see on day 1 that you liked about Team 128?
I think I'm really interested in the position battles at linebacker, quarterback, really everywhere on defense and offense. For quarterback, I'm pretty sure that rumor with the 2 quarterbacks isn't going to happen.
Okay.
And I don't think they're going to split them up. I think it's going to be one and done.
Okay, and if you had to say right now, based on everything you know, who do you think is going to be our guy?
Malik.
Okay. I know that's a tough one for you because you like Malik because he gave you the handshake and took a picture, and he's an awesome guy and all that. But I'm going to say if we had to choose one, I'd go with Malik also just because I think he has that X factor, the leadership. I think he can run a little bit more with it. But I think they're going to go with 2 quarterbacks. I think that there's no way you can pick just one of those guys. Either one of these guys would start and be a star on any team in the nation, with the exception of maybe Miami, who already has a really, really good quarterback. But even then, I think you would probably start over that guy. No, honestly, Josh Rosen's overrated. So one of our colleagues here at 5 Round MMA just had the nerve to say Josh Rosen's better than Kaiser and Malik. He's clearly drunk. Shouldn't drink this early in the morning, Memo. Anyways, so yeah, I think it's going to be both guys. I think that both of them will have a chance to play in different packages, different games. let's just pray and knock on wood none of them get hurt, because, it'd be great to see both of them out there. I don't think any team in the nation could prepare for both of those guys playing at the same time.
Yeah, and I think that's a problem with the preseason. I mean, it's all good to practice and all, but you can get really hurt easily and get out for the season. As like James Jones last season.
Jerron Jones?
Yeah, that guy.
Same, yeah. I was listening to Coach Kelly's press conference before camp started, and he was talking about how they invested so much more money this year in science, the technology of training, and keeping players safe, and how to run effective practices, but yet still do it safely so you don't start losing guys. But yeah, you're right. I mean, losing Jerron last year in I think it was the fourth practice was really devastating, because he could have been a huge impact. I mean, you saw in the Fiesta Bowl, he had that tip pass where Schmidt intercepted and ran it back and really put us back in the game. So I don't think you can underestimate or understate how important it is for these guys to stay healthy, but still have that competitiveness in practice, that when we go and whoop the out of Texas, that it's because we've been going hard and had that contact. You don't want to go from no contact to have a team that's going to be fired up to avenge their 38-3 beatdown last year. So with that said, let's get into the schedule. Let's talk about the schedule a little bit. I've heard a lot of the prognosticators and podcasters saying how our schedule is. They keep saying the word favorable.
Haters gonna hate.
Yeah, well, it's not even that. I think it's just more they say favorable, looking at some of these teams, thinking, oh, well, it's just so and so, or it's just this team or that team. Our schedule is undercover really tough. I mean, starting the season off at Texas is not, and you got to figure Texas has a 90,000 to 97,000 stadium capacity, if not more. They're going to be pissed because we beat the brakes off them last year, 38-3. They have 5-star talent all over the field. Good running game. They're probably going to be starting a freshman at quarterback, but I don't think you can really underestimate what they're going to bring to the table. So I think some fans think this is going to be a sleepwalk because of what happened last year. Texas is going to come to play. That's going to be a tough game. We're going to win, but that's going to be a tough game. Sunday Night Football, I mean, has all the makings of a classic two huge program feud going at it.
Yeah.
And then we have the home opener the next week against Nevada. I mean, that should be one of those games that you hope to get some of your young guys in, third, fourth quarter, get them some action. You would hope that that'd be a runaway. As a lifelong Irish fan, I can tell you that it'll probably be another heart attack special, but we'll win. So that's all on Nevada. And then you have Michigan State coming in. So again, we're talking about favorable schedule, but you already right off the bat have 2 out of the 3 teams that are not sleepovers at all. Michigan State still is always going to have that defense. Mark D'Antoni is going to have his team ready to play. They've lost at Notre Dame several times lately, so they're going to be excited and fired up and ready to play. So you can't ever underestimate Sparty, even though they're kind of retooling.
Hopefully there's no more fake field goals.
Oh my gosh, yeah, that's terrible. Yeah, nobody will ever forget, especially me, that fake field goal when Notre Dame lost to Michigan State on that fake field goal. And I'll never forget, and for some of our listeners out there, a friend, and I put that in quotes because I use that term loosely, friend of mine, Nick, sent the call of that play on my work voicemail so that I would hear it first thing Monday morning, although I was so mad I punched a hole in the wall. So anyways, then we got September 24th, we got Duke coming to Notre Dame. And that's a guaranteed win for me because I'll be in attendance, and so far I'm undefeated at Notre Dame. So I'm calling my shot now. That's a win. I think that should be David Rutcliffe, I think is his name, is the coach there. He's a good coach. He's got his guys ready to play. But, I mean, they don't have the talent, in my opinion, to match up. And I think that's another game where hopefully by third, fourth quarter we have our backups in. Then we go to East Rutherford to play Syracuse. That's another one I think pretty manageable. One of the tough trap games that I see on the calendar is October 8th against North Carolina State. That's at North Carolina State, so that's a good team right there. They won, I think, 8 games last year. Their stadium is one of the more difficult places to play. So what do you think about that one, Nate?
I mean, I've never seen Notre Dame play NC State. I've seen them play USC, all good teams. Mm-hmm. But I've never seen an NC State. I've seen old NC State games, but I haven't seen NC State. Okay.
Well, I'm just saying that's going to be a tough road game. Then, of course, I think it's a little bit of a trap game because you go from a Syracuse game you should not have too much problems with to then the week after the NC State, Stanford comes to town, and that's always an emotionally charged game. Christian McCaffrey, I mean, they're a top 10 team mainly because of Christian McCaffrey because they're going to have a brand new quarterback. They're going to have a lot of new offensive linemen. Their defense has a lot of retooling to do, but when you have a guy like Christian McCaffrey, you're automatically going to be put as a favorite in most games. Although I think currently Las Vegas has Notre Dame as the favorite still. But again, Christian McCaffrey is kind of the X factor and can really change things one way or the other. Even though last year the Irish defense was able to stifle him a little bit.
Yeah, like you said, Van Gorder, I think, should give the defense a mindset of just attack Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah.
Because the quarterback won't be ready for that atmosphere at Notre Dame.
True.
It will be his first time playing Notre Dame, and he won't know what to expect. So just give the ball to McCaffrey.
Yep.
But then stop him.
So 2 tough weeks in a row because right after Stanford we have Miami coming in, new coach Mark Richt coming over from Georgia. Their quarterback's a stud. I usually don't like to give kudos to other teams, but their quarterback is an absolute stud. He could give us our secondary problems, but I'm hoping by that point, our flag went down. I'm hoping by that point our secondary will be more experienced, have some game experience under their belt, and hopefully we'll be healthy so we can shut him down. So then we go on to playing Navy in Jacksonville. Although they lost Keenan Reynolds, the all-time scoring leader in NCAA history, they have another quarterback. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but he's just as good as Keenan Reynolds, if not a little bit quicker. So Navy's always going to be an emotional, tough game for us because it's that triple option that, as much as I respect Navy, every time I see the triple option, it's a pain because as small as those guys are and, 2-3 star guys, they're still going to run that thing to perfection every single time. They don't turn the ball over. They force turnovers. They're just an aggressive, tough team, and that game always scares me. Then the Shamrock Series in San Antonio versus Army. If we have problems with that game, we got problems. So the Scarlet Knights in San Antonio, I know a lot of my buddies are going to that game, so hopefully by the third, fourth quarter, you guys are able to relax a little bit and get to see some of the second, third string guys in there. Then another tough game at home, still very, very tough team. New coach again there, Virginia Tech. They're a good team. I believe they're top 25 team, so can't take them lightly. And then, of course, we finish out the season out here at the dump of a Coliseum against the shitty Criminals. Excuse the French, but I hate SC so much. It's guarded. They're just... Every time I go out to that game, I literally fear for my life. That's why I never let Nate go to that game with me. But, they're going to be good. They have a new quarterback coming in. Their coach is obviously coming over, staying from last year. They have a little bit of consistency there with his system, Clay Helton. But they're going to be tough. Their defense is ridiculous. They still have Juju Smith on the outside, which will still catch everything. They have Adoree Jackson coming back as corner, and they've already said he's not going to play offense, so he'll be able to focus just on defense. So if we go into that game, which I truly think we will, 11-0, and we win that game, I think it'll be playoffs or bust. Actually, even if we go 10-1 with a loss somewhere in that schedule in there, I still think a win over SC at the Coliseum would put us in the playoffs, even if we already had one loss. So that's my current way, way, way too early prediction. Obviously, a lot of things can change, and we'll see what happens against Texas. I think that's a huge barometer for how the season will go, is how it goes against Texas. And unfortunately, early when you don't have a conference championship, because the Irish remain independent, if you lose one game, it's tough to get back into that mix. So every game is important. Every team comes to play Notre Dame tough. So my way too early prediction is 11-1, and in the mix for the college football playoffs. I just think this team's way too talented and deep to have any issues past that.
Who do you think they're going to lose to?
I could see a loss somewhere in there. I'm worried about Michigan State, a little bit worried about Stanford. Miami's going to be tough. North Carolina State on the road will be tough, although, again, I think we're favorites in all those games. I think the only game, according to Vegas, that we're not favored in currently is USC, which still is kind of funny to me because I think they're ranked 15th or 16th in the coaches poll. The Irish are ranked 9th. But that's just, that's way too early. So I can see 11-1. What about you, Nate?
Most people won't like me for this prediction, but I think 10-2.
Okay, that's all right.
Lose to Michigan State and a loss to Miami.
Okay, fair enough. I mean, it could go either way. A lot of it's going to be about how healthy they stay. So we'll wish nothing but the best for Team 128 and can't wait for September 4th. So we're going to move on to our last segment here in a minute. We'll be right back.
Now meet the legend that is us Notre Dame. We stand together and that's not gonna change with family.
All right, welcome back once again. And we talked a lot about the schedule this last segment. I just kind of wanted to say a couple of my thoughts on some of the fall camp predictions that I have. I think just based on what I've seen and heard through film and everything, I think Asmir Bilal will emerge as one of the starting linebackers alongside Niles Morgan and James Onwalu. I like Greer Martini, but I think Bilal gives us more of a run support, a guy that can get back into coverage. I think he's our guy to line up with Niles Morgan. And then I think Tavon Coney switching in with either Onwalu or Asmar Bilal will be a force with those four guys, and then Martini coming in on in the nickel packages, dime packages, things like that. I think, Max Redfield is one of the most controversial players probably since Tommy Rees at Notre Dame, and it's just funny to me because he didn't play that bad last year. There was a couple plays that he got burned on, but what safety in college football doesn't get burned from time to time? Max Redfield is a guy that I think gets way too much undeserved heat and disdain from Notre Dame fans and opponents alike, and I think this year he's going to shut people up because it's the senior year. This is his last chance. He wants to play in the NFL. He said from the beginning one of the reasons he came to Notre Dame was to play in the NFL. I think this is the year that he establishes himself as a future NFL safety that can make a difference. Devin Studstill will play. I think he'll get some reps. Drew Tranquil, the other safety, I think unfortunately is a little bit injury prone, but still an absolute stud. So Studstill, no pun intended, will fill in the gaps when one of those guys might go down or need a break or whatever. Dalen Hayes, a name a lot of Notre Dame fans are familiar with in terms of his recruitment. He had one of the best commitment videos I've ever seen, the Batman Dark Knight thing, which was just awesome. I watched it probably 150 times. He'll battle with Andrew Trumbetti and Jay Hayes for that rush-in spot.
I think either way, it's just like the quarterback spot. Either way, we win.
Absolutely. Great point, Nate. I think KJ Stefferson, the freshman wide receiver out of Indiana, or out of, I don't know where he's out of, but he's a freshman for the Irish wide receiver. I think he's going to be a guy that you're going to have to really find a way to get him on the field, whether it be in the slot, whether it be relieving Equinemius St. Brown a little bit. Obviously, Torrey Hunter is going to be the guy on the other side, but whether it's Stefferson or Javon McKinley, the freshman out of Corona Centennial, any of those guys I think can really get it done this year as young impact players. It's just unbelievable the amount of 4 or 5-star athletes they have at wide receiver. Another name that a lot of fans may not know that I've been trying to pump up is Chase Claypool. If you haven't seen this guy, look him up. He actually got recruited from Canada, so people are sleeping on him a little bit. Dude, this guy is, I think he's 6'4", 220, fast as heck, strong. He looks like a grown man. He looks like Calvin Johnson. He's a beast. And I'm not even sugarcoating that. He's an absolute stud, and he's going to make a difference. I think he's number 83 when I saw him in the film. They just gave him his number. And then I kind of touched on Kaiser and Malik, who's going to get that, but I just can't wait to see that battle progress. And I really hope they both play because I love both those guys. They're both just studs that can really when you have a guy like that at quarterback, you're already going to be in the game no matter what. I mean, a guy that can sling it like Deshaun can and a guy that can run it and escape and be elusive like Malik. It's going to be fun, man. Okay, so we're going to close up here in a minute. I just want to I have a couple announcements. First of all, one of our key partners, and we actually have just formed a partnership where Dos Leprechauns are going to be the official podcast of the Legion of the Leprechaun. It's a Facebook site, so please look them up, Legion of the Leprechaun. It's run by a group of 4 Jasons. There's 4 of us that are named Jason that are the admin, and then there's one other gentleman on it as well. I think his name's Chris. Either way, we're going to do weekly camp posts for them. We're going to do weekly game day recaps for them, and we'll provide our podcast will be the exclusive podcast for that site. So that's exciting. They have about 15,000 fans and likes and everything, so we're excited to be a part of that. So I want to thank Jason Wood for that invitation to be a part of that group. Let's see. Also, if you're interested in being in a fantasy football league that Nate's in, that we do a part of, it's a Dos Leprechauns fantasy football. We do have one space. One of our guys that we had in it, we dropped him because he was running 2 teams, we found out, so we dropped him. So now we have one open spot. Armando Luna, another Notre Dame guy, Irish Bolts on Twitter, is in it as well. We got a couple of guys from out of state, but if you're interested, we can Skype you in if you want to do it that way. The draft is on Sunday, August 21st. Just let us know if you want to be a part of that. And I believe that's pretty much it. Nate, do you have anything you want to say before we go off air?
And that's also the day of SummerSlam, by the way.
That's right.
Don't
That's
forget
right.
to watch that.
So after this podcast, we're going to be recording our second in the wrestling podcast series since we're focusing on Notre Dame since the season's coming up. But yeah, SummerSlam on August 21st, and then August 20th is NXT TakeOver.
I
So
can't
that's
wait
exciting.
for that.
Me either.
One thing before we go. If you guys think of any names for a podcast with a lot of guys, tell us, because it's just a wrestling for all you wrestling fans. Just you'll like it.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. We just kind of go back and forth about who's good, who's not, SmackDown, Raw, whatever. Also, in closing, I want to thank again the guys at 5 Round MMA for letting us use their studio. Follow them at 5 Round MMA on Twitter, on Facebook, and Instagram, and YouTube. So they're all over the place. Really do a great job of covering MMA. They have some really funny takes and do a good job of really getting into some in-depth MMA coverage. And they get a lot of likes and respect from a lot of big-name MMA sources. So let's make sure to follow them and give them some love. With that, again, 28 days till Notre Dame football. We'll be back in a couple of weeks with our next podcast. And until then, have a great week. Team 128, stay safe out there, and go Irish.
No, we are Notre Dame. Hey, yeah. There is no glory without scars. Blue and gold, we fight hard, and they know who we are.